Hi guys, welcome back to Freeze Drying Mama, Ready Prepper Mama. If you are here, then you've been with me for a little while and you know that I don't really I don't pull any punches. Like, it is what it is, okay? So today we're going to be talking about how to digitally pressure can. This is my digital pressure canner that I got from Presto. I've been looking for a way to do it to pressure can without having to use my old school pressure canners because I just don't want to do the propane. And I really love this thing. I have another video coming up where I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons, but today we're going to be using it, okay? Just so you know, I do also Rebel Can. And what Rebel Can means is that you do things outside of the guidelines of the USDA. Now, this pressure canner, it's a digital pressure canner, and one of the things that it touts, one of the things that's a pro for it is that it is USDA approved. So if you're the type of person who wants to make sure that you're doing things that way, then that's what this is. This is perfect for that, okay? So I am going to be using this one in place of my standard pressure canners because, number one, I don't want the heat in the house. This does not put off a lot of heat, hardly at all. It's kind of like a slow cooker. It does everything it needs to do in about 4 hours. So I really feel like this is something that is a really great investment. It's about $255. On Amazon is where I got mine. So it's an under $300 investment. My other pressure canners, I have two, they were $99 and $150. And I actually can only get them out like once every great while because I have to schedule a whole day. I take time away from homeschooling, take time away from the family, and that's all I do all day. But this has actually made it to where it's more feasible. Another thing I do is the Rebel Canning. The Rebel Canning, like I was saying, Rebel Canning, one of my favorite ones is that I do it the way the Amish do, and the Amish hot water bath, like everything. They hot water bath everything. So you can do that, and I actually use my roasters for that, and we'll have some examples of how I use my roaster coming up in some future videos. It, again, is a little hot for that right now, so rather than sitting here and pumping out AC just to fight what I am doing with the roasters, and I will do the roasters like probably September. We're in August right now, so probably closer to the end of September when I'm pulling some things off of crops and stuff. And I'm pulling things out of the stores that are in a plenish, right? Or like a whole bunch of some. But like, for instance, my mandarin oranges, when I can those will be a hot water bath situation where I'm Rebel Canning them. So that's one example. I am actually going to be doing some elk meat today because one of my favorite ways to actually store elk meat outside of freezing it is I am going to be pressure canning it. And that's what we're going to be doing today, okay? So I have, again, this is one of those jars that I have used before. And this is something, if you, and I'll get into this in another video as well, but if you are into wanting to start to can, but you don't have the money, I'm just gonna peel those off because it doesn't really matter to me, but you don't have a lot of money to go out and buy all of these quarts and all of these pints and stuff, right? They're getting pretty pricey, but you do have pickle jars, or you do have salsa jars. Here's a salsa jar. If you have those types of jars, these are okay to use. These are perfectly fine. They seal great. In fact, I have one I just did, and it sealed better than the other one did. I'll see if I can find a picture for it. Anyway, but this is what I'm going to be using. This is actually a pepperoncinis jar. Normally I have the paper done off, but I didn't really care. I'm just throwing meat in it. I can tell what the meat is. So I'm doing that. I've got a pickles jar here. I've got some other pickle jars. I also have some regular quarts and some regular pints, okay? And again, ignore the mess. I have been canning. We had a lake day. Just ignore us. Okay, so I always have my trusty can thing here. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing meat. Okay, so this is elk meat. I've had freezing, and then I pulled it out and we let it thaw for a day. And then my son cut it up into these perfect bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to put them in the jars. Now, something to keep in mind. Your sizes that you're going to be cutting, that you're going to be cooking at, completely different than what I might be doing. So I'm not going to say these are 1-inch cubes or you're going to do 1-inch cubes. I like them a little bit bigger because we also like to have them for fajitas, okay? My dishwasher's working. So I'm going to grab some gloves. Okay, I don't like to, I wash my hands, but I still am going to wear gloves, at least one glove, because I'm going to be handling the meat. And I don't want to be handling the meat of other people that will be eating with us because we do serve this meat to friends. Okay, so I'm going to grab just a jar. Let me see if I can tilt my camera down a little bit so you can see more of what I'm doing. So I'm just placing the funnel, and I'm going to grab handfuls of meat. Now, if you can see in this, there is blood underneath the layer of this. It's like the juices from the meat. That's okay. I'm going to rinse those out when I get to that point. If I was doing ground beef, I wouldn't rinse it, but since this is elk and it's a little bit gamey, I want to make sure that I have that rinsed out before I go all the way. And I'm just going to be dropping in a bunch of the elk meat. Now, beef, I would not add liquid to. Beef, when I do my beef, like my ground meat, I just leave it in there uncooked before I pressure can it, okay? Again, you can do whatever you want. Make sure that you are comfortable doing whatever it is that you want. I am very comfortable rebel canning. I'm very comfortable reusing jars because I don't trust any entity that makes money off of me not doing things their way. So I don't want to do anything that is going to hurt my family, but I know that after the testing and stuff that I've done, that this is perfectly safe for me to do. Now, again, you're welcome to do and think whatever you want. Please, 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 you do whatever is going to work for you in your kitchen. I've been in a lot of rebel canning groups, and I love the things that they say. There is no right or wrong way to do something if it works for your family, okay? So I am actually going to pack these in here, and because the meat will get a little bit smaller, and there will be some meat in there, some juices and stuff in there. But again, this is elk meat. It's very, very lean. So I'm going to go up to about that space. I might put in a little bit more because I do have some holes in there, but I'm going to grab some small pieces. Okay, and let's see, we'll put this in there. Okay, then what I'm going to do for this jar is I'm going to add some salt and some water to it because I do like when it's braised a little bit and it's like steamed because the meat gets really tender. And if you've had elk, you know that it's not the tenderest meat, but you have to cook it a certain way. So I do a vegetable beef soup that I actually can, and I do it in my pressure cooker, and it turns out really good. And it's done with elk meat. I don't usually do a lot of beef unless it's my ground beef. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. It doesn't need a lot. So that's about, I don't know, half a tablespoon. Okay, then I'm gonna get some water. And this, guys, is where people don't agree with me. So I don't sit here and get all the bubbles out. Like, it's gonna sit here and it's gonna tamp through and it's gonna get heat. And again, it's gonna have juices, okay? So, but I might adjust some of these big ones because there are some bubbles that come out. But again, I'm not super concerned with it. Now, here is where people don't like when I do this. I like to add a tablespoon of butter. So I'm just gonna grab a pat of butter here. It doesn't have to be much. So it's maybe more, yeah, just about a tablespoon. And I'll put that in on the top, okay? And I'm just gonna steal that lid. And that's what I'm gonna do. The water level does not go above the shoulders or the neck right here as it starts moving into the neck, okay? And this is what I'm gonna do for my elk. The reason I added the butter to this is because it actually, there's not a lot, but what it does is it helps keep that gamey flavor down that we've been trying to drain. So I'll rinse this again and I'll do all my jars and then I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I've got these jars ready. And what I forgot to do on my last jar was wipe the rims down. I get a bunch of these cloths. They're like, they're supposed to be like napkins or washcloths or whatever at Walmart. I buy them, a whole pack of them. And I just use these all the time. I love them because they're like a soft t-shirty cotton material. And again, I did the same thing with these jars. Now I just have to find the lids. Give me a second. Okay, so I found my lids. So I hand tight, okay? And then I put them up here. Make sure your lids are on securely. They don't need to be man tight, hand tight. And I just double check on these a little bit tighter than hand tight because these are the ones that I'm reusing. And remember, it's okay to reuse things. Okay, and let me see if this one will actually fit in here. That might be a little tight. I might have to do this one. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one later, the small one, because I can see that I have the 4 in here. Okay, so I have the 4 in here. They're nice big fat jars. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add it, so for this, and I'll do again another video on this, but you add 3 quarts of water no matter what size of jars you're doing, or no matter how full it is. They recommend that you have 3 jars in here to keep it even. So I have 4 and they're all nice and even. And I fill it up. So I have 1. Another thing I really like about this is the fact that it tightens up everything and it has a digital display, which I'll show you as I'm setting it up. And I do hot water, so it cuts down on the heating time. Just dump it right on there. That's 2. That's plus. I have 1 more. Okay, here's the 3rd one, and that's not all. I'm on well water, and you can do whatever you want to do, but I always do a splash of vinegar to keep it a little clean. I don't measure this stuff out, so do whatever. But, and you can see I've used this a lot, you want to make sure that your seal is seated. So you can see my seal is seated all the way around. And it's really, really easy. Install, remove, right there on the end. Twist it. And then we're gonna come down here. Okay, so I'm gonna come here. Remember, we're doing the meat. So I have to do pressure can. I can also twist it to boiling water can, which is essentially hot water bath canning, right? And if I was doing this, I would not, I would do meat. I've done meat water bath canning and I love it, but I really prefer the pressure canning of my elk meat. Ground beef, I would do water bath. I can do that. So I'm gonna hit this. Yes, we're gonna do that. Now it wants minutes. Now, this is where it gets interesting. They say 90 minutes on meat if you're going to do meat, which I don't think very many of them like it. I'm going to do 85 minutes. Actually, I am going to do 90 because I got much bigger jars in there. So I'm going to do 90 and I'm going to hit play. So then it wants me to insert jars. I've already put my jars in. So now it's going to heat. It's going to heat this up for the next 20 minutes. Once I hit 20 minutes, then it'll say, okay, fill your jars. Well, I've already done it, so hit it again. And then what'll happen is it'll say, it'll do for another 20 minutes and then it'll go right into the venting. All I have to do is put this little sucker on here and that's it. It'll do its own thing. It'll cool down on its own. I always forget this part. So this will actually pop up when it's vented. And this whole thing will do all of the stuff, all of the pressures, and I can walk away for the, after I hit this because it'll do warm it. Okay, the jars are ready, 20 minutes. So in about 45 minutes, I can come up here and this will be all ready to go. And I just have to push play and walk away. So I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty cool. So I can do that. Well, now I can go down to work because I've got my canning started. I'll come up in a little bit, take a short little break, hit push play, or the kids, somebody will walk by and know what they're doing and they'll push play and get it going. I'm telling you guys, don't look at my kitchen. It's so messy. Okay, so once I do that and I have this all set up and ready to go and it's running for the day, it will beep and let me know when it's finished, which I think is so great because when I was using my normal pressure canners, I have to babysit them. Have I hit the correct, pressure? Have I hit this? You don't have to worry about this with this. It's all digitized, which I love. So anything that keeps my life easier, I'm all for. And this actually has made canning significantly easier for me. And I'm not doing this as a sponsored post. You guys know I won't do that. I do really like the Presto pressure canner. I've really enjoyed using it. It has been easier and it literally tells you when the cooling is done. It tells you when it's ready to be opened. Then you just slide it open, pull out the things and rinse it and start over. I can literally do a whole nother load right after it's finished. So in about 4 hours, all of this will be finished. It will have gone through the cooling. I can do my next one. And I'll show you some videos of that when I pull them out. Okay. Okay, see how it says done right here? Oops, if I can see my finger. Yep, right there it says done. And I just pulled them out. You can see they're still bubbling. This meat is perfect and tender. And my husband just pointed out I need to make sure that I am labeling these because it looks a lot like my chili. I have a chili done right here. I don't think they look the same, but if somebody else would go down into my food storage and look through it, then I need to make sure that it's easy to identify. So you can see they're still bubbling, they're still boiling, but you can see how pretty the meat is. So that is how you freeze dry, or that's how you can meat. And it's actually really, really pretty and it will stay up really nice. In fact, what's really nice about this, even though it's lean, is we should still have like a layer of the fat from the butter that I put in. So that should be up here and that helps me know if it's still good or whatever. So with beef, it would actually be a nice thin line of the tallow.